What a set of clashes those semi-finals were, and I predicted them absolutely perfectly. First off, we're going to club Man City, Real Madrid, and I got it right. I thought Man City would beat Real Madrid, and I was correct. They played out a draw in Spain, but in Manchester, the Spanish side were absolutely dominated. Man City dominated Real Madrid in Manchester and showed the power and quality that side possesses. Like, Real Madrid just got demolished. There's no other way around it. They were easily the weakest team of those two. It was actually kind of crazy how dominant City were. And then for the Milan derby, I thought Inter would come out on top of the Milan derbies, and I was also correct as well. AC Milan didn't really look at the races in that first leg, and while they played better in the second leg, Inter were just the better side throughout and deservedly qualified for the finals. Manchester City versus Inter Milan, the UCL finals for 22-23, and honestly, not a clash I saw coming, especially when these draws were first done. But hey, here we are. That's the beauty of football. The current champions of England face off against a top 4 Serie A side in Istanbul. As mentioned, Manchester City were dominant in their second leg and demolished a strong Real Madrid side. City were also recently crowned champions of England after producing an impressive fight back and going on a 12-game winning streak in the league. Also recently beating their Manchester rivals to claim the FA Cup. They've done the domestic double, now they're on track for the fabled treble. They're definitely favourites to win this competition, and it's not hard to see why. I'll be honest, I've discounted Inter Milan throughout this competition and I never saw them getting this far. But they've pleasantly surprised me. While they haven't won Serie A this season, they've still had a very successful campaign, finishing third, and I believe they also won some silverware as well. So regardless of what happens, they will be playing Champions League football next season. So I'm going to take a look at the two sides and then give my verdict. So Inter Milan. Inter Milan are definitely the underdogs here. I did not see them making this far, as I'm sure many people predicted. But they've been quite impressive this season and put up some good performances in Europe too, and they also got their domestic form back on track towards the end of the season. Inter did find themselves in a slump around the end of March with their strikers all out of form and not doing what they'd been wanting to do, score goals. Lukaku had not had a great return season Inter until the March international break, in which he's really come into form. Lukaku's partner Martinez has also been great, but after the World Cup has found himself, coming in and out of form. But that Coppa Italia goal was phenomenal. Dzeko has also had a really successful season with 14 goals from the 37-year-old, which is just insane. He's been mostly filling in for Lukaku, but with Lukaku coming back into form, I do imagine that Inzaghi will pick him to start. But it's going to be a headache for Inzaghi nonetheless. All strikers being in form. It's a headache, but it's something you want coming into a clash like this. They've also had a fairly solid midfield and defence throughout the season, with Barella and Bastoni continuing their brilliant performances. That's not to mention Andre Onana as well, whose performances in net have improved as the season has progressed, making some wonderful saves and also possessing some great distribution. He's become a brilliant shot stopper in Milan, and he's only going to get better, I think. The aforementioned Bastoni has continued to play brilliantly and continues to show why he's one of the top ball-playing centre-backs in Europe, and plays a big part in a solid backline with Acerbi and Darmian. Barella also continues to be brilliant. He's a fantastic all-round midfielder, being able to win duels, strike from distance and pick out passes, all combined with an immense work ethic that makes him a core part of this Inter side. Calhanoglu has also been solid in the midfield as he drops deeper to help out the defence, and both these players alongside Brozovic, who's also been playing well this season. They're just some of the core members of this very, very strong Inter side, and they're definitely going to give City a challenge. They play a lot more defensively than I think City are used to, so it's going to be interesting to see what Pep and what City do to try and break down this Inter Milan side. While I've definitely discounted them this season, it does not mean they're a bad side by any means. They've actually been pretty good, to be fair. They've got to themselves to the finals, so it's going to be very interesting to see how they perform. Manchester City, Inter Milan's opponents, after their domination of holders Real Madrid. I think it's safe to say that Man City are clear favourites to win this competition, and it's really not hard to see why. The name that immediately comes to mind is Erling Haaland. The Norwegian robot is the top scorer in Europe, and that's a player you want at your disposal in a match like this. We've seen Haaland develop into a much more well-rounded striker under Pep Guardiola, and it's honestly scary to see such an improvement in 10 months. He's only 22 as well, so he's only going to get better. Being such a huge player for City, he will definitely be a focal point in the minds of Inter's defenders, as they're going to have to try and keep him out of the game as much as possible. But trying to lock out one player is not going to work against City, as this entire squad will cause a lot of problems for Inter. Players like De Bruyne and Ilkay Gundogan will also cause a lot of problems. Gundogan especially, as been in some brilliant goal scoring form at the moment, most recently scoring a brace in Man City's FA Cup title win, the only 2 goals of that City side. And he should be phenomenal towards the end of the season. And De Bruyne, well, he's just dangerous as well. But let's not forget the little magician, and let's not forget the little Portuguese magician that is Bernardo Silva, who bagged a brace against Real in Manchester and has also performed well throughout the season. Jack Grealish has also really settled into this City side and has been quite well this season too. I think he's more of a player that the stats don't do the justice. You've got to watch him play to see that he really is like a quality player. And also John Stones, you know, he's adapted well to a defensive midfield role. He both helps progress the attack, but also drops back to help keep that backline strong. You know, he's really developed from a centre-back to a more defensive midfielder, and I think that all suits him really well. He's looked really good when he's been playing that new position this season. The backline has been rotated throughout the season, but Diaz, Akanji, Ake and Walker have all been brilliant when called upon. Ederson as well is also a solid keeper and has a very strong backline in front of him. And despite himself going through some rough patches, you know, he's still a very good keeper. And like Onana is brilliant at distribution and arguably better, to be honest. He's one of the best keepers for distribution, I think, in the world at the moment. And he's a good shot stopper as well. City ended up winning the title fairly comfortably, but that was helped by the crazy 12-game win streak they went on, which just shows how strong and dominant they can be, and they're definitely going to cause a lot of problems for Inter Milan. Just on form alone, I don't think Inter Milan could have gone on a 12-game win streak the same way City did. I've said it before, I said it again, but I think Haaland is the key. Manchester City finally getting some European silverware, and this is probably the best chance to do it, to be honest. I don't discount Inter in any way, but City are definitely the stronger side. I don't think that's to be argued. So yeah, this is going to be a very good clash, and while I think Inter were slept on quite a bit throughout this campaign, they have played well and definitely earned their spot in the final after beating some tough opponents and their own rivals. Manchester City have been favourites from the start, with myself predicting them to win the whole thing at the very beginning. And while, as I said, I don't want to discount Inter, they are a good side, but they didn't win their domestic league. However, they still played well enough to earn a third place finish, especially after the slump they went through, which it does show quality, it does show class to come back from such a slump to finish, you know, in a European spot in your own league. So fair play. I know I've said this many times, but I do think Manchester City will win their first Champions League here and complete the treble on top of that. There is every chance that Inter could pull off another shock, so to speak, and win it over City, but with the quality that the City side possesses and the football they play, I really cannot see that happening. Inter do have dangerous players, but City's whole squad feels dangerous, and they'll give Inter a lot of problems when they go into full swing. It'll be very interesting to see how each team sets up. Not so much formations really, but the tactics they employ. Inter's defence will have their hands full, that's for sure, but they're a very good defensive side. It won't be an easy match, but I do see Manchester City winning the Champions League. Finally for them. And honestly, they've earned it after a season they've had. I would not mind seeing them win the treble. I don't support them in any way, but yeah, they've been an amazing side this season. I think Haaland is that key, as I've mentioned. But yeah, they've been a very, very solid side. Haaland does get all the plaudits, and rightly so, but that's not to discount the other players in this City team. And Inter Milan, still a good side, but I just think City, they have that edge. They've got the quality, the players. Pep Guardiola is a brilliant manager. So yeah, I think City are going to win this one, but I've been wrong with Inter before, so you never know. But I'm giving this one to City. I think City will win it. So yeah, I've been O2GT. Those have been my Champions League final predictions. If you have any of your own you think Inter's going to win, please tell me down below. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.